this is a good segue as we're going to roll into a character that Jerry's worked on quite a bit over the years, and that would be Captain Marvel, a.k.a. Shazam. Which is coming out,
April 8th.
It's a very
April
short time
8th,
from now.
but if you have, I think Fandango or something, there was something I saw a commercial today, you can go next week.
Next
Next
Saturday.
Saturday.
I called Jerry up. I said, hey, want to go? And then he goes, don't you have to do GamerCon? Oh, yeah. That.
He's going to let us we'll be in charge of GamerCon.
Yeah.
He's going to go see
I told my
Shazam.
wife, I said, could you run GamerCon while I go to the movies with Jerry? She goes, after the sail barge. On thin ice.
Yes. So we'll be driving in the sail barge.
I'll be living in the sail barge, P.O. Box 123.
The question I wanted to ask Jerry before we get too far into Captain Marvel is
Shazam.
Shazam. I know. I have a hard time with that.
a lot of people do.
Is everybody, I guess not everybody, but it's considered challenging if you know all the letters for Shazam for Billy Batson. But it's considered next to impossible if you know them for Black Adam. Do you know them or remember them for Black Adam?
No.
They stood for something?
Yeah, and they're all different.
And he had a different set of gods.
Yeah, different
Was
gods.
it
Came from.
just the Adam part or the word black too?
No, it was Adam.
Oh, okay. I was like, you had to do Black Adam. That's a lot of letters.
No, Shazam. So
I know Solomon, Hercules, Achilles.
But for him, it's all different gods.
Yeah, it was.
They were
he
bad
still
gods,
said
weren't they?
Shazam, yeah, but
It might have been Greek
Naughty.
gods for him. I don't remember which one.
They were
No,
naughty
it
gods?
was a mix.
Was it a
Everything
mix?
was a mix
Okay.
anyway.
Yeah.
Who, for Black Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there were like Babylonian gods in there, and
Because he was like the
Was
precursor.
Baal? Was
he was
Baal
the
part
first.
of that?
Yeah.
He was the first guy
The
that
Baal.
Shazam shared the power with.
Baal the Destroyer.
they're really obscure. Everything's obscure. But.
Well, you have to kind of make up stuff too to make it fit those.
Wait, it's not real? It's
really
based on a true story.
Some 11-year-old kid that can turn into a full-grown adult. Come
Mr.
on.
Mind, is it real?
Really?
See, I thought the like the first teaser trailer I really liked, and I liked the full trailer as well. But when the first teaser came on, I was on Twitter and I saw it, and I immediately retweeted it and said, "Wow, this is just great." And I got so much pushback. People were like, "What? It doesn't say he doesn't call himself Captain Marvel, and he doesn't." And I'm like, again, you have these arguments with people where there's nothing to be done about it. So you just have to say,
that's
as
what
painful as it is, this was settled back in like 1967 when Marvel got the trademark to Captain Marvel.
It's been a while.
Well,
That's how I am.
20 years ago.
Right, you just have to deal with it.
When we were kids and when watching the Saturday morning Shazam live action,
which is on again, DC Universe.
Which I'm really, and they cleaned it up. They cleaned it up. They did.
I know, but they're still bad.
Oh yeah,
stories.
of course they're bad. It's awful.
But they look great.
But
that guy's hair was something else.
when we were kids
Les
watching
Tremaine.
it was always Shazam. It was never Captain Marvel. And so it was.
Now
just
they do call him Captain
in
Marvel
the show.
In the show they do, because I remember these kids stole a car on the first episode, and they're driving, and what did you tell me? He was on a pickup truck.
Yeah, they used to
Jackson
strap
Boswick?
the guy in front of a truck.
So he was like planking as they're driving, and the kids look out the window. They go, "It's Captain Marvel." I'm like, what?
No, I mean in the comic too. He was referred to. You just couldn't put Captain Marvel on the cover, which is a liability.
Right. From the New 52 on, they changed it to Shazam.
Right.
Yes.
But prior it was only I'm sure that's why you had the title of the Power of Shazam.
But I think that's a great.
Oh, that is.
That's a great title. For
and in all honesty, for a layperson in comics, if you look at this character and you know anything, you're gonna think Shazam. Anyways.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Well, here's the weird stuff. Mary Marvel transformed into Mary Marvel.
Yeah.
Because she said the word.
She said Shazam.
No, and Captain Marvel Jr. turns into.
He said Captain Marvel.
He says Captain Marvel. So
Captain Marvel
Freddie
gave him his power.
Right.
So he can't say that now. He just says copyright infringement.
Is there no Captain Marvel Jr.?
Again, the writers work their way out of it.
So
it's
what
like
did you? What did you do when you ran it?
Well, he couldn't say his own name, which was a problem.
Yeah.
So towards the end, I had him. I just had him call himself CM3.
And
people got mad about that.
CM
but
Punk was all over that.
But
I said
it kind of
it was in that time frame where you had like music artists using initials,
acronyms, and
yeah.
And he also, I remember, I specifically think that I did that because Dan Jurgens had called me up and he said, "I'm doing a new version of Teen Titans, and I wondered if I could use Captain Marvel Jr." And I said, "Sure." And he goes, "Did you ever think about what does he do to keep from like someone says, "Who are you?" and you go, "I'm Captain Marvel Jr."
Bam!
Yeah.
Secret identity destroyed.
So I came up with the CM3, and it was not necessarily the most popular thing, but it was there for a reason. It was just
made
meant to
sense.
solve a problem.
Yeah, I read the first. So when they did the New 52, they brought Shazam or Captain Marvel back as a backup in Justice League.
Yeah.
And because that's his name in that version, it was the same thing. If he'd said Shazam while he was Shazam, he would revert back to Billy Batson.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that they changed it now to it's almost like by force of will. In other words,
He has to
I
want
think-
it
Just
to
think
happen.
about it.
Yeah, if he says Shazam, it's not going to transform him as long as he
Yeah,
gets.
because
so
what does he
fun.
do if he has laryngitis one day?
Well, that was the thing.
Was
in
that a
the old
story
comics,
once?
Billy Batson
He
would
lost
be
his voice?
they'd gag him.
Yeah.
So he
And he
couldn't
could
say
talk.
the word, and then they could,
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays if they did that, of course, you'd have people like shocking him with cattle prods and kind of give him the full James Bond torture treatment or something. But
At the end of 52,
Yeah.
when Black Adam had done that whole World War III thing, the Wizard took it away from him. It made him forget. He couldn't use the word Shazam,
Right.
and the word that he ended up changing it to was chocolate malted milk balls.
right, they changed the code. It was
I remember that.
So it was chocolate malt, I think.
egg cream.
Egg cream,
Chocolate egg cream.
chocolate
Oh.
egg cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because on the way up here, we saw a store that said milkshakes and live bait, and I was telling Jerry, is
Throw a
that
couple
like,
crickets
is
in
that
that,
a
would you?
flavor? Yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna
yeah.
I'll have a cup of chocolate nightcrawler.
Were you driving through Middlefield?
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
He was like, we're not in
Cookies and-
Kansas
cookies
anymore.
and cream and nightcrawler.
This wasn't like the big city where we're from back in
Yeah, right.
Fairfield County.
They filmed
Big town.
Deliverance right over there. So.
I believe it. I saw the guy in the band.
You see Burt Reynolds in his vest with no mustache? That's right. They filmed it.
Yeah, we're coming from big town.
Yeah.
Smallville.
That's Smallville. That's right. We're from Metropolis.
But yeah, look, but the vibe of the movie looks good to me.
I liked it.
Hey, you know what? Here's the whole thing. Is like you said, people are pushing back on you. 20 years ago, these people were begging, can they make a movie about this
Oh my
stuff?
God.
It's
I grew
like
up-
we've been given the keys, and now it's like, well, thanks, Dad, for the new Corvette, but I wanted blue,
I wanted
not
a
gold.
Porsche.
Yeah.
We grew up with Condor Man.
Oh,
We
yeah.
grew up with the
Oh.
Swamp Thing movies
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff with Adrian Barbeau. But anyway,
Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Flash Gordon. Yeah. So nowadays you're like every week you've got $1 billion blockbuster.
But
and
the
you're
funny
like,
thing with any kind of controversy is
Yeah.
always, if you're old like me, I've been
Yes.
through all these stupid little controversies. When I did Power of Shazam, there was still a group of people who would not allow themselves to like it because it was different than CC Beck and
It was.
you know,
It wasn't.
traditional.
Yeah, it wasn't comedic enough. It
right.
wasn't.
I mean, there's
cartoony
always
enough.
that. So
I
now,
don't watch the New York Yankees ever since they got rid of Babe Ruth.
And-
It's like he's
But I mean,
dead.
and you add 20 years to it, and it's nostalgia, and
Yeah.
now it's all these people saying, I won't support the new
I'll
movie
boycott
because
it.
it's Shazam. But Jerry Ordway, who did Power of Shazam, did the best definitive version of the character, and at the time that book was coming out, there was a lot of negative
Yeah.
stuff from
Yeah.
that core group that could have helped us, and we did have. I mean, we got a lot of readers, I think, that were even remembered the stuff from the 50s,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the 40s.
You can't please everybody.
But
so.
everybody's dead who wrote
Right.
those things in the 40s
Exactly.
or whatever. I mean, you're
Hey,
pushing.
wait a minute. My mom read that.
Now that
I'm just saying.
She's still here.
She's not buying comics.
and your
She
your
might
run
be.
your run on the book has never been completely republished.
no,
next year.
No. And
Next year.
Are they gonna?
Well, they're discussing it for
Okay.
next
Yeah.
year.
It would be good. It's an
Yeah.
excellent.
I was hoping they would do it
for the movie. I was telling
Well,
them, like,
yeah.
wouldn't it make sense to put it out right
right
now?
now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but they-
what they're doing, I mean, it's like a united front. If you look at what they're doing, everything's been the Jeff Johns New 52
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense from a marketing point
Sure.
of view, especially when you're selling Shazam a month after Captain Marvel.
Right.
That you're going to not want to have people confuse it. So here's the only version that calls himself Shazam.
Right.
That's the one we're pushing. I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, no, and they're gonna wait for sales to roll in and then
Right.
see
Yeah.
if the
Oh, they-
pre-orders of
Or
anything.
if they do a
else.
sequel.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and I mean I know in some of the forums that I belong to, people are just clamoring for the '70s version to come back
Yeah.
out with the Don
Well,
Newton.
the ones that they did, they're actually I did a foreword for a collection of the first 30. I think it collects the first 36 issues of the 1970s Shazam.
Yeah.
When they DC brought it back and published it for the first time.
Oh, okay.
And that,
Denny O'Neil worked on it, didn't he?
Denny O'Neil
Yeah.
and CC Beck.
Yeah.
And that ties into what I wrote in the introduction, which, again, if I remember being a kid at that time, picking up off a newsstand,
Yeah.
and you know, a lot of people even then were a little polarized. So they tried to give, in '73, they tried to give the market the same book that existed in 1955.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake, because as, you know, if you read that book, by the end of the '70s, you had Nelson Bridwell writing and Don Newton drawing it, and that was more of what we wanted, I think. You know, if they had started out with that, I think it would have had a better chance. Because you can't go back home again, as they say. Every era exists in someone's mind in some, you know, hallowed way. So
I thought what you did with it, by taking all the previous history of all the characters from the Fawcett characters and bringing them into the book, it was a great. It was almost like a separate section of the DC universe that had never been fully explored.
Yeah, and I mean, the only reason I could do that was at that point DC had bought the property outright. In the '70s, DC licensed it from Fawcett. There was still a Fawcett family that they got a payment of, you know, $100 every time Captain Marvel, Shazam, Captain Marvel showed up in a comic. And at some point in, like, towards the end of the '80s, I think by '87 or so, DC had purchased it outright from them, which meant that they had the library of characters, including Spy Smasher and
Bullet Man
and Bullet Man
Ibis.
and Mr. Scarlet and Pinky.
Which was great. Oh, it's
And I used them because
Right.
they existed, and I was like with Shazam, with the Power Shazam. I had a good opportunity to stay close to the concept, because the concept's terrific. It's a kid who gets to be an adult, gets to have powers. I stuck with the concept. I just took elements that had gotten into the comics out of order, and I plugged them in the right order. Like Black Adam didn't appear in the comics until the '50s, I think, or late '40s. He wasn't part of the first issues of you know, Wiz Comics with Captain Marvel. So I was able, but he belonged continuity-wise. I just reorganized everything, and I tried to introduce stuff in a slightly
Here's a
different way.
pop quiz.